this working too?
Yes, yes, it is.
Welcome, everybody. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Bryan Vartabedian. He is an assistant professor of pediatrics at Baylor College of Medicine, where he directs emerging programs in digital professionalization and literacy. His unique expertise lies in understanding the emerging digital culture of medicine and how new media can be leveraged by organizations and individual stakeholders. Present in the health blogosphere since 2006, Dr. Vartabedian has been an active witness to the social health revolution and its influence on doctors and patients. As an active keynote panel speaker in the area of technology and the future of medicine, he has addressed numerous national organizations in the U.S. and abroad. He writes about the intersection of medicine, social media, and technology on his blog, which is called 33 Charts. Welcome, Dr. Vartabedian.
Thank you, Ruth. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yeah, I want to thank the University of Southern Indiana and Peggy and the organizers of the meeting for inviting me to come up. It's a real honor to be here. So changing weather for me. I'm from South Texas. I guess Chuck Christian was speaker before was from the South, so I don't have too many Texas jokes, but I get to the car this morning and the driver said, well, where's your coat? And I said, well, I don't have a coat from South Texas. You're like, I can't tell you shorts. So I'll take a little bit of a different angle this afternoon. Up until now, some of the speakers have taken on a relatively techno-pessimistic view of kind of what we do with social media. I'm more of a techno-optimist, so we're going to turn the tables and talk a little bit about more the opportunity, the obligation to be out there in the public space. One of the things that has been kind of basic for so many years is the fact that our in real life space and our online space have been very, very separate things. In sociology, there's a concept called digital dualism, which is the idea that those are two separate spaces. But increasingly, what we do in the online space and what we do in real life are starting to become one and the same. As our wearables and become implantables, and our implantables become connected to the Internet of Things, a lot of what we do and the engagements that we have are real-time connected to the Internet. So, look at our public image, our identity in real life, and identity in the public space really needs to be considered as one unique identity. So, just to go here, a little bit of a background on myself. I guess I'm kind of a born communicator. I started when I was in medical school as a freelance writer, and instead of moonlighting, I probably spent most of my time writing freelance articles. And so there's a picture from Vartabedian. Then I wrote a book, Call Us All, in 2007. And as a means of marketing that book, I started a blog called Parenting Solved. And when I started that, I realized pretty quickly that I had a kind of an avenue to the public space. And in 2008, got into Twitter as one of the first positions there. So since 2008 and now, I've been maintaining a blog called 33 Charts, which really addresses the issues that healthcare providers are facing in the public space. So I've had a lot of experience with the issues that healthcare providers are facing as we get into public conversations and public dialogue, which is what we're talking about today. Specifically, what I want to kind of cover here over the next 30 minutes or so is I want to really kind of build a case for a solid public presence. I know that, as I suggested up until now, we've had this real sense of fear around public presence, and I think we're really going to see this as part of our new professional responsibility. I'm going to go ahead and, when we're halfway through, just do a little simple exercise where you guys kind of look at each other's digital footprints if we could. I've never done it with a group this large, but we'll see how it goes. And then finally, we're going to offer just a few things that you can do and you can take away as providers and healthcare providers to improve your digital footprint. So This idea of us having a public presence and a very visible public presence is something that is kind of new and modern in this generation. As William Mose were here, he was a father of modern clinical medicine. I think 100 years ago, if these tools had been available to him, I think that he probably would have embraced their use. I had a woman, I did grand rounds not too long ago at Texas Children's Hospital, and after the presentation, a young neurologist came up to me and she said, it's really Texas Children's Hospital's responsibility for maintaining my online reputation, looking after what's going on. That kind of mindset is pretty typical in medicine. We kind of feel like it's not our responsibility, but it's really kind of a new responsibility that we have. As for allied and health medical students, this is a huge issue. As Eric Schmidt, the CEO of Google, has spelled out recently, this is really the first generation that's going to have to deal with their trail of online information as a professional issue. Look, it's a big deal. And as part of our job, those of us who are working with students and those of us who are students, to understand this part of professional development, because it truly is a new responsibility. Any medical students here? No medical students, but if we look at what medical students do, before they apply for medical school, before they apply for residency, they kind of adopt what we call a score zero policy, meaning they level all their social profiles as a means of erasing everything they've done. It's kind of unfortunate because, again, it gets back to this whole concept that this is really all about risk. Again, the comments earlier today we heard were just about how much risk there is engaging in the public space. But instead, certainly with our students, we really need to be encouraging the opportunities that exist out in the public realm. And the opportunities that come with having a good public profile. And I think this is really our fault because we're the ones responsible for shaping this next generation. And certainly as teachers and educators, if we can't teach it unless we're committed to it, and we can't really do it, or teach it rather, unless we're doing it ourselves. So we really need to be active participants in this. At Baylor College of Medicine, I have a curriculum called Digital Smarts, which takes our medical students through 4 years of medical school at several different points, bring them up to speed on all things they need to understand about public media and online media. And it's a huge task, and it's a task that we're just starting to implement in medical schools and nursing schools. So, just to open up, can anyone tell me, anyone kind of guess and help me define what a digital footprint is? Anybody want to speak up? A digital footprint. Any ideas? Any takers? Okay, Google yourself, or do what's called vanity search, right? Google yourself. It's really, you're absolutely right. It's what people see and understand about you when they look for you online. Okay, does that make sense? It's really a traceable timeline of everything you've done and everything you've created, but also what people have created about you. Okay, it's the videos that you've appeared in, it's the photos you've been tagged in, and it's truly a lens that people watch you from. Okay, and it's for sure a reflection of who you are. And so your footprint's really important. Why is it such a big deal? It's a big deal because this is where our colleagues start when they really want to understand anything about us. This is the new CV, right? Our digital footprint is what people understand, and the interest here has become so dense at this point that it's starting to get really creepy if you look somebody up and you can't find anything about them. Okay, it's almost becoming a requisite. So this leads to a couple of basic footprint fundamentals that I kind of want to discuss with you. First is that you can create what the world understands about you, and this is kind of a key thing, or someone else will be more than happy to do it for you. Okay, what that means is you have to create the reality that people understand about you, or someone else is willing to do it for you. So think of the first page of Google as kind of a fixed bit of real estate. Okay? And you can either buy your way in or work your way into that first page, or someone else is going to occupy that with something that you do. Now, when I talk to groups of physicians, physicians are tough because they overlook their phones and whatnot during talks. And so when we start talking about people taking ownership of their identity and whatnot, they really kind of look up. So this is another key issue. You have zero control over what's created about you, but you have 100% control over what you create. So this is a huge issue again for physicians, that we get really preoccupied with what's been said about us with online reviews, but we really need to be focusing on drawing on our positive reviews and creating positive content for us online. There's another key point. If you really can't manage reputation, this is kind of controversial. My friend Kevin Poe, who writes for Kevin and Dee, wrote a book on online reputation management. I don't think we can really manage our reputations, but we can manage what people see and understand about us. Okay, if you take a vascular surgeon who is a hack in the OR, what they do in the online space is never really going to make up for that. Okay, and so for better or worse, we can create the image that we choose for ourselves. This is an old New Yorker cartoon. No one, on the internet, no one knows you're a dog, which brings up the whole point that perception trumps reality. Again, this is a blessing and a curse of the online space, but it's something we can leverage for sure. This is a tweet that I sent out, I guess, a couple of years ago, and I said that I was hammered in the clinic, meaning in medical vernacular, that means I was really, really busy. So his mom came back, and she was a mom of mine, saw that and said, I guess hammered means something really different. So, and as you know, as we've all seen with these, with text messaging, what we call short constrained media, it's really easy to get misunderstood how it appears more often than what we say. But at the end of the day, and this again, this gets back to the whole idea of the vascular surgery is bad vascular surgery. A great digital footprint will never make up for poor clinical performance. This is one of the key take-home points we make for our students at Baylor College of Medicine. So, with that, I would like to, if possible, if you guys could pair off, get into groups of two. Does everybody have a smartphone? Does anybody not have a smartphone or a pad or a... You guys can pair off groups of two. What I'd like you to do, if possible, is grab a pen and get the name or the spelling of your partner, and then go up to look up your search engine, and just for the next 5 or 8 minutes, I want you to look at some of the things that look for LinkedIn profiles, see if they have, see what you can tell about the bio, is there any good content? What site is that from?
Well, I'm on the wedding registry for that, and you see that, and you show the ring app.
Okay, very good. That's amazing, I didn't know that was available. Every time I think that, I'll look at first something really incriminating, I remember what it was. That's not something, so what about those things that show up on the first page of Google, things that are probably a little unsavory, that image is unsavory? Any thoughts about how we get rid of those? We try to get rid of them. There's a saying, the PhD director of the Center of Social Media from Flynn, and he says the solution to pollution is delusion. You know what that means? We want to, again, put as much content out there so that it drives down finding on the first page. And the first page of Google is real estate, anyone can know. So if you occupy that, you'll have you push that stuff down to the second or third page. You search my name and the stuff that quotes I've done, articles I've written, and all that. 20 pages. Yes, you do that. A year later, search my name and find lots of things. Anything else you guys found that was odd or doesn't follow up with, so there's all this concept of the Streisand effect. Has anyone heard of the Streisand effect? So what do you do? Let me just pose this question now. What do you do about negative reviews? If you're a provider, you're a nurse practitioner, you're out in the public space, and you get a negative review or you're a physician, what are the things you can do to deal with that? You guys have to deal with that negative reviews? It's a common thing with physicians, but physicians, the first reaction again is to try to get rid of what's been said. But in response to talk that was done this morning, the question was asked about the doctor wanting to sign a disclaimer. It's an important concept, and that is that you can't control the conversation. So we can't ask for our patients to not comment on it. It's just, we just can't do it. And so, this idea of the Streisand effect is that when we have a negative review and it comes up online, and we say, try to sue that parent or try to sue that family, that will oftentimes draw more attention to the negative comment to begin with. So this whole name comes from the fact that some photographers, I guess about 8 years ago, tried to photograph the entire coast of California. And so part of the images included Barbra Streisand's house. Barbra Streisand didn't like that. She was doing this in the backyard. So she decided she was going to sue the photographers. And what happened then, you can only imagine, everyone in the free world found no one in Barbra Streisand's backyard. So it come to be known as the Streisand effect, which is when something's on the internet, either negative review or something you don't like, your attention to it will oftentimes draw more attention than the actual damage it causes to the negative effect. Does that make sense? And that goes for all these reviews and whatnot that we see patients write. So again, this is from Liesi. The solution to pollution is dilution. So again, we want to be creating content. Okay, so if we look at what you guys saw in that exercise, is there anything that you guys can think, going home tonight, if you were to sit at your computer, are there any things that you could do that you can think of that would improve your digital footprint, improve what people see and understand about you when they look at you online?
Post things that are positive, things that withdraw. Post things that show you in a positive light, doing things that you would be admired or respected for, or doing a positive event.
Okay, good. So you're saying create good stuff. Take up that first page of Google. Any other ideas? Anything you can do to improve your digital footprint tonight is going on. So if you guys look at that, name or find a link, don't find a single LinkedIn page or anything. You didn't find it. Okay. So is that something you do? How many people have a LinkedIn active LinkedIn page? Small percentage of you students out there that have a LinkedIn page. Some of these we do with our available students. We may have switched really have a LinkedIn page. So a couple of things that we can do for us is to improve our public profiles. This is the easiest thing, especially if you guys aren't motivated to do a lot, right? And when I work with physicians on this, this is a huge issue. They say, I simply don't have time to do this. And so if you do absolutely nothing, if there's nothing else you do, you really want to occupy and own your public profiles. And that includes, for most professionals, that's LinkedIn. For nurse practitioners and physicians, it's Doximity. For physicians, it's also Health Grades. Okay, so these are places that search very, very high in Google. And by owning those profiles, you are getting really top real estate. People really understanding, learning about you in that first page. The second thing you can do is create content. And this is actually a critical thing because there are only really two things on the internet, right? There's content and there's conversations. If you go on Twitter and you look at what's happening on Twitter, these are really the only two things we're seeing. Okay, there's stuff that's published on the internet and there's conversations about it. And so we talk about content, what we mean is stuff. It's stuff that people consume. Okay, it's pictures, it's videos, it's audio. Okay, what's important about that is it's permanent. We look at the conversations that we have out in public on Twitter or on Facebook, and that's really dialogue between people. Okay, and that's what we call ephemeral, meaning it goes away. So what happens to Snapchat after 6 seconds? Your exchanges disappears, right? What happens to Twitter dialogue after a couple of weeks? It becomes less visible, right? It actually goes into the library of Congress, library conversations are Congress. But it gets harder and harder to find. I have an internist friend who boasts to me that his whole social media presence is on Twitter. And the problem with this is it's hard to really find out a lot about someone by looking just at their Twitter feed. Okay, so now there's two things on the internet. Our footprint is entirely based upon content. So if we do that exercise and you want people to find the things that you want them to find about you, you have to create and build content that's meaningful and helpful and positive, as we suggested here. Now, of course, building our profiles is one thing you can do, but social media is important too. Okay, conversations are going to draw eyes to your content, and you have to start to think about your map, the map of your digital footprint, okay, which is what people find about you. How would you map what you would write out? And if you were to map what you find out about me, the core of my thinking and everything I do is based right there in the middle on 33 charts. It's the blog that I write on. All right. And then on the periphery, I engage on Twitter. That's my kind of my core profile. That's where I have conversations with people. That's where I share information. And so out on Google Plus, even on LinkedIn and on Twitter, I bring people back to my content. Okay, so I have 26,000 followers on Twitter. If I post out there, they're back to these. Okay, so I use that drives traffic, which drives search engine optimization. And so again, you have to be creating content. Conversations are good, but you have to be creating content. Does that make sense for everyone? If you're not making content, you're not making anything that's searchable or that people can find. So how do we do that? Well, you need to find places to park your content. Okay, you need to write stuff and create stuff. You need to find places to put it. And one of the best places to do that is what we call a surrogate blog. Okay, that's someone else's blog. Okay, so a good example would be Texas Children's Hospital. So this is my blog, okay, and I write about tech and doctors and everything else. This is great, but I like to have some different content when people search for me. I have patients looking for me and searching for me, and so what I did just last week on January 11th was I wrote a blog post to my Texas Children's Hospital blog on rare earth magnets and the problems it creates. Okay, so if I didn't have any other presence, I had no other presence, and I posted this and waited about 3 weeks, and you searched my name, and you have nothing else going on, this would probably be at least halfway down the first page. Okay, so in terms of what you would want to do as a healthcare professional, if you want to build your digital footprint and build your career, you really want to make content that you can find and you can search for. Does that make sense? Another possibility is LinkedIn blog, a LinkedIn blog. Okay, so maybe you say, well, I don't have a surrogate blog that I can jump onto. So LinkedIn, if you go to LinkedIn, if you have a LinkedIn profile, again, if you go right here to, you look right there, and you hit publish a post, that'll bring you to this, and it's pretty easy. Look at that, how intuitive is that? You write your headline, you start writing. Okay, how hard is that? So a great thing about LinkedIn and this new feature which we just rolled out last year is the fact that you don't have to have a blog in order to create amazing content. So if you want to write a 500-word post on the future of nursing or the role of technology in whatever in bedside nursing, you put that there, and when people look at your LinkedIn profiles, and a lot of people, they're going to see that piece of content associated with your so that makes sense to me. I think it's amazing and really kind of hard appointments, right? You want to look really good. So that's a great way to do things. Digital fingerprints. Okay, so this is just another little concept that my friend Wendy Sue Swanson, who's a blogger, said that Children's came up with it. The footprint is what people find when they look for you. The fingerprint is what makes you unique. And so you really want to come up with things that are really interesting and compelling. So if we go back here, you can also publish your PowerPoints onto LinkedIn. Okay, LinkedIn acquired SlideShare, which is the slide sharing application. So if you give it, like, when I get this talk and I want tonight post it onto LinkedIn, I can put it up as a terrible. The problem with that is, if you just look at my slides and my graphics, it's really hard to tell what I'm talking about. I'll give a traditional talk. So what you can do is you can record a voiceover on PowerPoint or on just Apple Keynote, and you can upload it there. And so you can put your entire 30-minute presentation, and so when people go to your LinkedIn profile and they're interested in what you're doing, they will see it. You can also pull your Twitter feed back to this, if that makes any sense. So that's how you do that. Actually, under your profile, it's right there. You just hit presentation, and you put it right in. So some quick spots for creating a basic profile for you. Okay, again, for nurse practitioners and physicians, Dr. Simony, again, LinkedIn is probably the biggest space that you want to be in. And so just within a couple hours is something that you guys can do. Do you guys have any questions up until this point? Okay. So when it comes to building a LinkedIn profile, again, if you guys are motivated to make content and you're going to stick with your public profiles, you really want to make the most of it. And there's a couple of things that are kind of important when we look at these. This is Ivor Horn, who's the Center of Diversity. She's the VP of Diversity for Seattle Children's. But a couple of things that you see here that are really critical. And again, you want to compare this to your own LinkedIn page, because a lot of people on their LinkedIn pages don't have some of these elements. But you really want to have a good headshot like we see here. That's a professional headshot. She has a summary. If you look down below, she has a narrative summary. Okay, so I can read her life story. So many LinkedIn pages you go to, and if you go back and search it here, you'll see that they've got a placeholder for LinkedIn. They've not written a narrative. So these are the search terms that they can pull up in Google, and these are the things that people are going to find that make you really, really interesting. This is me. Again, same thing. I've got a pretty long narrative summary that you can see there. If you want to look it up, you can see that. David Hill, who is a colleague of mine from American County Pediatrics, again, does a great job with a really professional image and a narrative here that, if you read it, it really tells a story and tells me what's going on, if that makes any sense. You want to go further down and make sure all of your experience and your things are completely built out. So you can list what you've done, but you can also list a narrative underneath describing what you've done. So these are, again, if this is all you're doing, this becomes really, really critical. So this is my page for Doximity, which for physicians, a lot of professional organizations have their own public-facing profiles. In fact, if you work at a hospital, like Texas Children's Hospital, where I work for Baylor College of Medicine, I also have a profile at the University College. Works really, really well in search. So these are things that we can optimize. So I have a question. When you guys did that search, did you guys see any confusion or have any confusion about whether somebody was presenting themselves as a professional or as an individual person? Was it clear to you? Yeah, from minutes, right? So one of the big challenges we face certainly as professionals is separating our personal and professional life. As we've taken that step out in the public place, it's been a real challenge trying to identify whether we're presenting ourselves at any given time as an individual or as, say, a physician. So this challenge, professional to personal is one, and as well as the institutions we work in. When we put ourselves out there on Twitter, we represent ourselves, right? If we look back at the Annals of Internal Medicine, this is back in 2011, a long time ago. It was suggested that, certainly for physicians, and it was later suggested for nurses as well, that we maintain this idea of dual citizenship. That is that we have out in the public realm a place for our personal stuff and a place for our professional stuff. And the two should never cross. But the reality is it's impossible to separate our personal and professional space. If you look at my Twitter feed and look at the things that I discuss on Twitter, it's really a tight meld of my professional and personal space. I think one of the real advantages that comes with that is the fact that certainly as healthcare providers, patients see a unique side of us or a unique angle that they never saw before. As we'll talk about in just a little bit, I think that has a real positive value. People can see our insides. Question?
So you're asking about, is it safe to put that much information about yourself out in public space? Okay, so another reality is the fact that that information is not out there anyway. So much of that information is out there. People can access that information. I think there's risks to having a public profile. There's risks to being out there. There's risks to putting your opinions out there. But I think we have to balance that with the opportunities. Does that make sense? I don't know, I really don't know if anyone's had their identity stolen from a LinkedIn profile, but I don't think that would be something that, it's not something that I would do. Any other questions about this? Do you guys find it hard to separate your personal and professional lives and out in public? Those of you guys who have Facebook pages or Twitter pages? What?
I said I haven't really created this.
Yeah, so you guys really take everything and stuff out, but it was a challenge. You said what do you put on it? Should you put them in your closet or not? And I think that what's important to understand is independent of what you put or what disclaimers you put on those profiles, you are a brand ambassador for an institution in that way. The disclaimers don't prevent you from being a jackass and don't prevent you from kind of putting your institution in a bad light. So disclaimer or not, or whether you mention your institution, is really kind of irrelevant. One of the things I would really recommend, it just came up here, is that so many of you have not taken this step up. You've not created content. Some of you have half-built LinkedIn profiles, whatever. Depending on what your career path is, find a role model and then watch them. This is a really critical thing. Physicians ask me this all the time. It's exactly how do I navigate my Twitter stream as practice. And so we'll look at these 4 cardiologists, see exactly how they're doing it, how they're doing it well, and then mimic that. There's no reason to do that. There's some great role models. There are some 200,000 physicians with active profiles on Twitter, and a lot of great fodder for you to kind of replicate and copy. We don't have great standards in terms of what we should be doing as physicians out there, but some of the role models I follow, Peter Hotez, as far as physicians, the dean of the School of Tropical Medicine at Baylor College of Medicine, does an amazing job. Vinny Arroyo at the University of Chicago, and others. And so I find these individuals and I look at them and I watch them, and that's really what I would recommend that you guys do. Do you guys have any questions about this? So one of the big challenges. Do you guys have any? Is anyone concerned about the time that it would take to do this? Do you guys have lots of time? Any concerned about time?
Sometimes like I'm swimming in all of this technology.
Yeah, information overload, right. Well, I think we have to see this public, our position out in the public is kind of this idea of the new responsibility. And even if we have a very, very limited exposure out there, I think we can see it as part of our professional development, as part of what we do to be visible. And as we talk about during the next half hour, we perhaps have a moral obligation to be out there. And we talk about a selective idea of being out there as physicians or as nurses, but maybe we have a moral obligation to be out there.
they're looking to potentially interview and they're making conversations with people, they're not impressed. And some people, so what do you suggest for your next?
Yeah, so this goes the same for Twitter handles as well. This comes up, and positive is like there's like no doctors coming out of residency who have these really edgy Twitter profiles. And so the challenge comes in from when we're training even nursing students and medical students, what's appropriate, what isn't. And this gets back to the whole core concept of perception from reality, right? And how are we going to look to someone who's looking at that piece of content? So if you go on my Google Plus page, you'll see my avatar, just really take them through the avatar, when I took it through the computer, and it's really creepy. And so I use this with medical. I actually never took it down. I sort of took it down. I know just to teach purpose, but I show it to medical students, and I say, what if a 12-week-old baby with a little personality and you search this doctor contact? How do you end up with how that person feels? That person trusts you. So it comes down to that kind of instilling that kind of judgment, because you can talk about email names, but there's a million other situations where judgment is made, where we have to consider who's looking at us and what they're going to think. So they call it context collapse, okay? It's where you got control on social media. So it used to be this when the dean of the school of nursing, and you dress a certain way, you talk a certain way. When you went to church or synagogue, you talked and walked a certain way, right? We all knew what the ground rules were when we went in that context. Now what's happening is, in the whole realm, everyone's kind of thrown into the same pool. And so the trouble that medical students and doctors get into is they're having conversations that are not should be happening in one realm, out in the realm where the dean of school medicine is, and patients are, and also other people. So it's called context collapse, because we're speaking that in the wrong context. I'm not saying the wrong thing, it's just the wrong people hearing it. So I think that's a good question, but it's a hard thing to instill. There's these young millennials are quite used to showing up and having these real-time dialogues of a certain nature, and when they get to clinical awards, medical students, for privacy, all kinds of issues they face, they're absolutely huge, and we do a very poor job of training that. If there's any questions on those, yes. You're asking about what to do when a patient approaches you in full ground. That is a huge issue. All you nursing students need to know how to deal with this too. So like what to you guys? Let's say you're on your OB11, you have a young mother that you connect with, and she finds you on your Facebook page, and she sees you there, and she knew you'd like you, but she has a question about her postpartum IUD. She throws it out to you. What do you do? Well, Bryan, how would you handle that? That's going to happen. You guys have to know that. If you're public, you guys have to public. Okay. Okay, so, yeah, so that's one option is to say, I can't, well, yeah, that's a great one. I can't handle this, talk to you about any ideas. Yeah.
So if you have insurance that's not through the hospital, can you give information while you have insurance to cover you?
So you're asking me if they'll get insurance.
If you have your own personal insurance that's outside of the facility for a kid.
Okay, so what's wrong with that argument? So you have insurance. For conversations on public profiles, privacy protected. Okay, so it's not basic, question on Facebook, right? So I'll cut to the chase what I tell our students. And so the first thing is no conversation about patients or clinical issues should ever happen in public. So the first order of business is to take that conversation who's able to talk to you. You call them and you address the concerns. Remember, these millennials, young millennial moms, Facebook is not making communicate. So when they see a doctor or a nurse or a nurse manager, to them it's not that strange to sort of reach out and ask a question. So address their issue. The third thing that we train our fellow students to do is to generate a phone note. So they create a phone note. And in that note, they say that the patient reached out to them to ask a question. Does that make sense? And then what I tell the family is the future is not a perfect way to reach people. So what that rapid business summary on ethic is, since I have such a broad cultural profile, we all know how we want to reach. We don't want to reach on Facebook, Twitter. Like I say, I follow on my cell phone, on Saturday, I get